everybody. Welcome back to the Hope Dealer Podcast with Dr. Brian Hooten here at Hooten Family Healing Center in Dallas, Texas. Recently awarded the best chiropractic office anywhere with a giant stuffed teddy bear in the back. So if you can't see him back there, we've got a huge teddy bear for the kids, and they love coming in, giving him hugs. But, what are kids doing in a chiropractic office? This episode is your kids should be getting adjusted by a chiropractor like us. A lot of you out there listening, what is he talking about? Adjust the kids. I see what he does on Instagram. He's pulling on people and doing all this stuff. That's terrifying. Look, I have a specialty that my youngest patient was my own daughter. I adjusted her with the umbilical cord still attached. I used my fingers. I went to all these different courses on how to properly do that. Just think logically about it. If your kid's spine is flowing properly, will they be healthier? Yes. Versus if their spine is kinked up, will they be healthy that way, or will they be less healthy? If their spine is kinked up, they're going to be less healthy. So we had another whippersnapper in here yesterday who was just the cutest little girl. And she's a soccer player, so an athlete, very active. How many of you have active kids, whether they're 2 years old or 13 years old? They're all over the place. They're falling, they're in sports. A lot of them are like this on their phone, which is a disaster, by the way. Kinking up their spine and limiting the way that their body is going to function. So just remember, your brain is in charge. So if your kid has a fall or something, your brain wants to fix that. Their brain wants to go through the spinal cord and repair the damage. That's one thing. Just if they traumatize their body, you want their body always healing. And thankfully, this little girl yesterday, she had a little bit of pain building up. So we'd get her adjusted, and her body started working, and she was feeling better before she walked out of here. That's on the surface, but the deep stuff is even more important. Like, how well do you want your kids' hormones to work? How well do you want your kids' immune systems to work? Do you want them to fight off the flu, or do you want them to succumb to the flu? That's an easy, obvious question, because drugs don't stop the flu. Tamiflu does nothing and it never has for the flu, so you shouldn't rely on that. Only your body that fights off the flu naturally, that's what you should be tapping into, and that's why you bring your kid to the chiropractor, to keep the immune system really at its peak. And if you talk to a bunch of the kids that are around here and you talk to their parents, they'll tell you, when we stopped getting adjusted, I noticed their allergies coming back. They were getting more frequent sickness. They were missing school as much, versus if you come in regularly to keep things flowing. It's just like anything else. If you're going to do something good for yourself, like work out, should you work out regularly, or should you work out once every 3 months? Should you eat healthy regularly, or eat healthy 1 day a week? And your spine is in charge of everything. So do I adjust newborn babies? Absolutely, 100%. I recommend when they first come out, you get the spine checked right then. And then as they develop, you keep it flowing and keep it flowing. Now I have kids that I've been adjusting their whole life. I've got a couple of 22 and 23-year-olds who I was adjusting their mom while they were pregnant back in 2000. So it's been an awesome journey watching them. And I've had a bunch of sick kids come through here, whether it's asthma, headaches, ADD, Tourette's. I don't fix those things. Remember, I get the body where it fixes itself. And if you get your spine flowing, they're going to literally change right in front of you, either immediately in some cases, or in other cases it takes time. Like, we've got a couple of kids that have been having seizures for years, been taking these drugs, so their body is like addicted and used to taking the drugs. So we're adjusting them, and then the parents on their own are working their way off the medication. But it's touch and go right now, because they don't want to just yank them off and have these full-blown seizures all the time. You got to get the body flowing and then let it repair. So it's just like a garden. I always use that analogy. If you plant a garden, you got to water it regularly. Well, that's what an adjustment does. It allows the water, if you will, from your brain to get to their garden, so their plants can flourish, so their body can thrive. Does it hurt them? No. Do we have a couple of 2 and 3 year olds who scream like crazy whenever I'm adjusting them? Yes. They don't know what's going on. But that's about 50% of the time. The other half of the kids, they just giggle the whole time. And by the time they're 4 and 5 years old, they're jumping up on the table. They get it. You know, they're taking less medications, taking less shots, less vaccines. In fact, the healthiest kids we've ever seen in here have been adjusted from the birth, from the time they came out, and they never had a single shot. They didn't even have the eye cream. So I wanted to finish with that. So just in case you didn't think I was crazy already, I'm going to go full-blown insane right now and tell you the vaccines that these doctors are recommending, that the CDC is recommending, are nonsense. Totally not necessary. I can give you advice about this because this is a voluntary thing. Do you know you don't have to do that? You do not have to subject your kid to getting needles in their arm, right? If that was mandatory for somebody to be healthy, to grow up healthy, my kid would be dead already. She's never had a single shot. When she was born, we didn't let him put that eye cream on him. She didn't get a vitamin K shot. She sure as hell didn't get that hepatitis shot at birth. You know what? That's what they're doing nowadays. Did you guys know that? They're giving a hepatitis vaccine to newborns, which is a sexually transmitted disease or a needle transmitted disease. What newborn baby is in the middle of sex and having, recreational drug use with needles? It's insane. And then the vitamin K shot, where did that come from? Well, because these kids were having all these blood flow issues, so vitamin K started getting introduced, and that's just right at birth. By the time they're 5, the last time I saw the schedule, it was over 76 different doses of crap that the CDC is recommending, that the pediatrician is recommending, and as our rates of autism rise, as our rates of allergies rise, and childhood cancers and everything else, you cannot sue the vaccine companies for damaging your kid. They took away their liability. You know, I was born in 1971, and near as my parents could remember, I got 4 shots, and I was one of the sickest babies you've ever seen. We stopped. I never got a booster or anything like that. I don't know if we had the polio. I don't think I had the polio. I don't have the scar or anything like that. I'm fine. I'm great. We changed everything. We got into this chiropractic lifestyle. I have multiple family members who have multiple children. None of them got vaccinated. How come our circle of relatives, our babies, our children, how come they're not running around sick? And the vaccine proponents, they say, oh, that's because all of us are already vaccinated and we've got this herd immunity thing, so we're protecting your kids. To that, I say bull poo-poo. Bull poo-poo. Vaccines didn't even come around until early 1900s. The first ones, like smallpox, you can check my date, I think that was back in the 1800s. Jenner was the first guy's name. He's injecting his kid with this first version of cowpox, thinking it would protect the kids from smallpox. His kid dies. Polio, people always say, what about polio? It went away when the vaccine came in. Y'all ever heard that? That's like the big argument. What about polio? Well, let me tell you about polio. If you go back and look at the timeline in history, polio had run its course, and if you ever saw a kid in an iron lung, yes, that was terrible, but polio was on its way out. The vaccine wasn't introduced until the majority of the polio cases had already died off. Then the polio vaccine was introduced, and they took credit for eliminating it. Then we find out, come today, 50, 60 years later, that polio never went away. They took away the disease name polio, and they call it 3 different things now. Acute flaccid paralysis, and there's 2 others I'm going to remember in the middle of the night. But they just renamed the condition, and so the disease didn't even go away. Measles, there are countless stories if you want to go online and say, and look for measles outbreaks in vaccinated populations. It doesn't even stop the transmission of the disease. This whole COVID thing, this is going to red flag wherever the podcast gets put on there. I'm sure this will get me some comments out there. The COVID vaccine, really? I never shut down for a second. I had 200 or 300 people a day in here breathing on me. Many of them were exposed to the COVID virus. A couple of them came in sick, and they called me and said, do I need to wear a mask? And I said, heck no, do not wear that mask. You need to exhale that stuff. And they said, I don't want to get you sick. And I said, brother, you're not going to get me sick with this COVID thing. I've literally got a shield of armor protecting me from crap like that. And that's not me bragging. That's just noticing over the years, I just don't get sick. Anybody that knows me, my family will say, yeah, he hadn't been sick in a long time. I got a fever like last year for like 4 or 5 hours, went to sleep, and it was gone. But actually gone down with a flu for a week, 30 years at least, if not more. The more you live this way, the stronger your immune system is going to get. It's just like working out in the gym. The more you work out, the more you push weights, the stronger and bigger you're going to get. It's the same thing with your immune system. The more you beef it up with adjustments, regular adjustments, eliminate crap food, put in some vitamin D, get plenty of sunshine. There's actually great vitamin D supplements. That elevates your immune system to a level where if a virus comes at me, A, either it doesn't get in, or B, if it gets in, my system just kills it before it can do anything. And think about it. If you start that way with your kids, where you're getting them adjusted, you're not relying on a chemically filled shot, which doesn't work anyway, and causes all kinds of other crap, and you feed them proper food, you give them a loving environment, keep them off this thing as much as you possibly can, they're going to be healthier. So this whole lifestyle thing, this whole chiropractic, this max living lifestyle thing, that should start when they're babies. And then when they're 15, 16 years old, when they're 20, 25 years old, they're going to be making better conscious decisions on how to be healthy, because that's their number one asset. If you've ever known anybody that had a sick kid, I've seen sick kids. It's horrifying. I'm not trashing on you guys. If you've went through that, a disease like cancer in a baby, that is terrible. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about if you can build a better life for your kids, shouldn't you start when they're younger? You can always find us online, drhooten.com. You can go to our Instagram page. You'll see a bunch of kids on there. They're smiling. They're not terrified of coming in here. And we can help you out. If you're anywhere in the North Texas area, please reach out to us. You can email us at frontdesk.hootenfamily@gmail.com or just go to our website, drhooten.com. But take action. If there's a subscribe button down there, click that, share it, especially if you know you know what? If you know somebody with a sick kid, I don't care if it's a genetic disease or if they just seem to be struggling a lot, if they seem like they're getting injured a lot in sports, if they're missing school from allergies and flu and that kind of thing, send this to them. We can help them. Kids respond so fast to an adjustment. It is awesome to watch God's work in them. We love you guys. Remember, drugs are bad. God is great. And so are you. We'll talk to you next time.